Hello, everybody. It's Jeff Murrin here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the first chapter of the book, The Things They Carried, by Tim O'Brien. Interestingly enough, the first chapter of The Things They Carried is also titled The Things They Carried. Now, I know it sounds like it's a little too self explanatory that this is about soldiers and quite literally the things they carried. Um, it lists a lot of things that these particular soldiers carried when they went out into the field into battle. Uh, it mentions things like the weapons that they carried, the ammunition that they carried, the maps that they carried, the compasses, the radios, the batteries for the radios. It gets into excruciating detail about all the specific tangible items that these soldiers carried. And it is interesting, however, it's not the full story. The full story is that, yes, with every tangible item they carried, there was also an intangible component with them as well. It was like there was also a burden that they carried along with them that was uh, interior. It was something more of the spirit, I guess. It focuses on a character named Jimmy Cross. All right, and Jimmy Cross was the leader of this particular platoon that the narrator was a part of. And interestingly enough, that name Jimmy Cross, I do not believe that name is just a whimsical name that the author came up with. I do believe that there is a significance to that name because the name Cross, I think of religious context here. You know, Jesus bearing the cross that he was later himself to be crucified upon. All right. There is the saying that, it is my own cross to bear. If there is something that is burdening me and I don't know what to do with it, I don't know how to unburden myself, I might say, well, this is just my cross to bear. This is just something that I'm going to have to live with. All right. And that is a very similar type of thing that we see this author trying to articulate with the things that these soldiers are struggling to carry themselves. I'm going to read a few passages really quickly to get you to understand a little bit, to see what he's writing about. Um, let's see. It says here, as a first lieutenant and platoon leader, Jimmy Cross carried a compass, maps, code books, binoculars, and a 45 caliber pistol that weighed 2.9 pounds fully loaded. He carried a strobe light and the responsibility for the lives of his men. That last little bit is like a way to say, among all of these other things that he carried, that was the most significant. That was the one thing that all of those other little specific items went to this bigger picture because it was he who carried the responsibility. All right. Um, they carried all they could bear, and then some, including a silent awe for the terrible power of the things they carried. All right, so it's not just they are carrying weapons, it's they are carrying with them this, as it says, an awe for the power of those things and what they could do. They could take the lives of people. They were carrying on some ideals from some other people back in the United States. This was something that was more powerful than the very weapons themselves. They carried ghosts. Ghosts related back to all of the people that they left behind in the United States, the ghosts of the people that they themselves killed while in battle, all kinds of things that they were dealing with. To Taking turns, they carried the big PRC 77 Scrambler radio, which weighed 30 pounds with its battery. They shared the weight of memory. With every item, it seems, or nearly every item, the narrator brings up how much that particular thing weighed. But we also see that there is the physical weight of the items, but the weights of, as this case, the memory, or the weight of the awe, or the weight of the responsibility, these intangibles that have a way of forcing their way and their weight beyond just the actual, gravitational pull of the items themselves. Let's see. What else do I want to bring up here? This is where he goes into great detail discussing that here. They carried all the emotional baggage of men who might die. Grief, terror, love, longing. These were intangibles. But the intangibles had their own mass and specific gravity. They had tangible weight. They carried shameful memories. They carried the common secret of cowardice, barely restrained, the instinct to run or freeze or hide, and in many respects, this was the heaviest burden of all. For it could never be put down. It required perfect balance and perfect posture. They carried their reputations. They carried the soldier's greatest fear, which was the fear of blushing. All right? And it points out throughout this how much more important these emotional strains were than any of the actual heavy artillery or anything like that they were carrying. It's interesting too, some of the characters, one of my favorites being born and raised in Oklahoma, is the character of Kiowa, the Native American, who carried with him, oddly enough, ironically enough, a New Testament and a distrust of the white men. It says that in there, which I thought that was interesting because, that Christianity was something that the white man brought to, and in some cases forced upon, the Native Americans. But it was something that, that had happened so long before that it had somehow come up and taken over his more tribal community, and it was something that he carried with him, that religion, but it was also a mistrust of the white person who probably brought that in to begin with. And it's a great way to begin, because it is a way that sets the tone for the entirety of this novel, in that there's so much more to any of this war, or almost any endeavor that we venture to take on, than just what is on the surface and meets the eye. Okay, so those are some things I want you to think about as you're looking into and continuing your reading of this great book, Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried. All right, so I'll leave you with that for now. Until next time.